Hello everyone and welcome back to rysonsspraybooth in association with Painting Learning. And as you can see here on this bumper there are many scratches, and the guy who owns this car has told me to repaint the whole bumper. And as you can see here how the bumper is scratched from underneath here. So I am going to repaint this entire bumper now, but before repainting it I will totally detach this bumper from the car, because if you take out the bumper and then paint it you get a better finish and you can work on the bumper properly. And as you can see on the other side also how much the bumper is scratched. This is a Swift Desire car and the bumper of this car is a big bumper. So come on, let's repaint this bumper. So the first thing, I will take out this bumper from the car and I will even separate the bumper grills from the bumper. So here my bumper is now totally separated from the car, and as you all guys can see how badly this bumper has been scratched from underneath. It is scratched all over, and here there is one major damage, and this is the scratch which the owner of this car doesn't like. So as you must have noticed that there are many scratches on this car bumper. Now this is the scratch which I had shown you earlier in this video, and if you go on the other side also there is one more scratch here, and if you go slightly on that side, here also there is one scratch. So there are lots of scratches on this bumper. So the first thing what I will do is, wherever there are heavy scratches, I will take a 80 grit sandpaper and I will start to sand the bumper. So here I will be using a DA sander. You can also call it a dual action sander. When you use this type of tools you will get your work done a lot faster, so it is always better to use tools like this. So here I'm done sanding all the places with 80 grit sandpaper, and as you can see here while sanding this bumper I came across more scratches, and as you can see here that there is already body filler filled up in this spot. So it shows that this bumper was painted before and this was a major dent, and as you all guys can see after sanding it down with 80 grit sandpaper it has already smoothened out a lot, and the scratches also have become very less now. In some places it has become flat just because I have sanded all the places with 80 grit sandpaper. Now as you all guys can see the cracks here. This happens when your bumper is twisted or gets banged. That is the time you get cracks like this. Now here again I will take a 80 grit sandpaper, and this time I will do hand sanding, because when you are sanding with a DA sander you are sanding flat and you cannot reach in the cracks or holes. So that is the reason why I am doing hand sanding, and I will sand the interior of the cracks with the sandpaper, because I will be applying body filler here and that body filler should get a good hold. That's why after sanding the surface down with 80 grit sandpaper it will create those grooves, those tooth for the body filler to hold on to. So wherever your DA sander did not reach, on all those places hold the 80 grit sandpaper and do the hand sanding like this. So here I'm done sanding all the parts. Now I will use pressured air and blow out all the dust, and now I will clean the bumper properly, because when I am applying the body filler the surface should be clean, otherwise the body filler will not stick to the surface properly. Now wherever I will be applying the body filler I will wipe that surface down with a wax and grease remover or a degreaser, and with that my surface will be now ready to apply the body filler. So now I will mix my body filler. So you will have to take a body filler like this on a glass, and you will have to take a little bit amount of a hardener, and you will have to mix both of this properly. So here our body filler is now ready to be applied. So now I will start to apply the body filler. So here I'm done applying the body filler, and as you can see here wherever there were small scratches I have applied everywhere the body filler. Now I will give some time for the body filler to dry till it becomes hard, so that I can sand it properly. So here my body filler has dried hard, and here on the DA sander I have put a 80 grit sandpaper. Now wherever I have applied the body filler I will take a 80 grit sandpaper and do the sanding, and I will flatten up the surface and make it smooth. This is the most important thing, that is blending the spot with the surrounding surface. If you leave even a slightest scratch it will start to show on top of your paint job. It is not that your paint will fill up that scratch and that it will not show up later on. So all the imperfections in your preparation will show on top of the finished paint job. That's why it is very important to do the preparation properly. So here I'm done sanding my entire bumper with a DS sander, and as you all guys can see here how it looks like now. You should touch the surface like this and feel if you can feel any ups and downs. If you see any ups and downs, then you will have to reapply the body filler there. Like this you must touch and take the feel if your body filler has taken the correct shape. If you feel that your body filler is slightly up, then sand it more. If you feel that it is slightly low, then you will have to reapply the body filler there, and you will have to sand that spot again. So I'm done sanding the surface with 80 grit sandpaper. Now I will take a 150 grit sandpaper and I will sand the places where I have sanded the surface with a 80 grit sandpaper. What this will do is it will get rid of all the deep scratches which has been created by the 80 grit sandpaper. So it will level all those deep scratches. So like this you will have to use more grit sandpaper to get rid of the scratches of the less grit sandpaper. Like this you will acquire a nice and flat surface. So if you have a block like this, then you can even use a block. If the surface is flat, this block will get rid of all the high spots and it will leave you only with the low spots. So it is always good to use a block to do the sanding. So in between sanding you'll have to touch the surface and get the feel if you have acquired a nice and flat surface. You should touch the surface and feel, then you should look at the surface from all the angles as well, if any high spots or low spots can be seen. So if you touch the surface like this, you can make out the difference. Also sometimes if you can't make out the difference, then you will have to look at the bumper from different angle and see the difference. So here I'm done sanding the surface down with a 150 grit sandpaper. Now I will use a 180 grit sandpaper and sand on all the spots where I have sanded with a 150 grit sandpaper, so that it will get rid of all the deep scratches which has been created by the 150 grit sandpaper now. So like this, first you'll have to use 80, then 150, then 180, then 220. You should come up step by step. In between I have skipped a 120 grit sandpaper just because I had used a DS sander, because when you sand with a DS sander, those deep scratches don't remain. So that is the reason why I have skipped that 120 grit sandpaper. So here I'm done sanding the surface down with a 180 grit sandpaper, and as you all guys can see, there are no more high or low spots here. Now all the sanded spots have become flat and smooth. Now when you are doing this for the first time, it will take you some time. You will not acquire a flat surface in one shot. You might be left with some high spots or some low spots, so you should not worry much about it. It happens when you are doing it for the first time, and when you do a lot of practice, you get the hang of how to apply the body filler, and then it becomes very easy to do it. So once you are done sanding the surface with the 180 grit sandpaper, you will have to take a 220 grit sandpaper and sand the entire bumper if you are applying primer on the entire bumper. But if you will be applying the primer only on those spots where you have sanded and where you have applied the body filler, then you will have to sand only on those places. Here I will be applying the primer only on those places where I have sanded and where I have done the putty work or where I have applied the body filler. So I will sand only those places. Now when you are using a 220 grit sandpaper, see that you do water sanding to the surface. You don't have to sand the entire bumper with a 220 grit sandpaper. If you feel that the rest of your bumper is in proper shape and there are no flaws in that, then you can skip applying the surface grey primer to the entire bumper, and you can only apply the primer on the spots which you have repaired. That is exactly what I am going to do here. I will be only applying primer on the spots where I have applied the body filler, because once you are done applying the primer, you can sand the primer and the entire bumper, and you can directly apply the base coat and clear coat on top of that surface. What I do is, before applying the primer, I always do water sanding with a 220 grit sandpaper, and you will have to sand it nicely so that when you apply the primer should get a good hold of the surface. The primer should get the tooth to hold on to. So here I am done sanding my entire bumper. Now I will rinse the entire bumper with fresh water, and the paste which has been created after sanding, I will get rid of all of that, and I will clean this bumper nicely. So here I'm done washing the bumper and my bumper is dry already. Now I will take a wax and grease remover and wipe the entire bumper. Now on all those places where my bumper is exposed, I will apply plastic primer there, so that in future if the bumper gets twisted, it will not crack my paint. So once I applied the plastic primer, I have given it some time to dry. Now after applying the plastic primer, immediately I will start to spray my surface grey primer. So before that I have mixed the primer, I have set up my spray gun, I have set up my PSI, I have set up my spray pattern, and here now I have started to spray the primer. Now if you want to learn all those things, and if you are serious about learning Autobody and painting, then I have put a link in the description. You can go there and get yourself enrolled in the course where I will teach you step by step on how to do Autobody and painting. Now wherever you have done the spot repair with the body filler, apply the primer there. Here I am using a 2K primer. Now this 2K primer is a very good primer. If you have tiny scratches on your bumper, then this 2K primer will will fill those scratches up. It's a very thick primer and it is also one of my favorite primer. So here I'm done applying my one coat of primer. So I will wait for around 5 minutes and apply the second coat. So here my 5 minutes are up and now I will apply the second and last coat of my primer. So here I'm done applying my 2 coats of primer. Now I will let it dry overnight and tomorrow I will sand it down and apply the base coat and clear coat. So here my one day is up and as you all guys can see here how my surface looks like now. My primer is dried hard now. So now I will start to sand the primer. So here I will take a 400 grit sandpaper and first I will do dry sanding. I'm doing dry sanding here because when you do dry sanding you come to know if there is any high spot or low spot. If you have failed to level the surface anywhere, you can make that out while doing the dry sanding. And you don't have to use the guide coat as well. So I will use a block here so that if there is any low spots I will be able to see those. So here I want to show you all guys something. Now wherever I have sanded, it has become nice flat and white, and wherever I have not sanded, it is still a slight dark grey and it is still slightly glossy. So wherever you have applied the primer, you will have to sand that surface and make it nice and flat by sanding. Now as you can see the place where I am sanding, there is a low spot there. Now since I have applied a 2K primer, I can sand this spot a lot and level it. If I happen to use the SD's grey primer here, then that primer would have come out very easily after sanding. I will not go to level this spot that much because this is the lower side of the bumper and it is hardly visible. So I will level the part as much as I can and I will apply the base coat on top of it. So here I'm done sanding all the spots with a 400 grit sandpaper, and as you all guys can see how it looks like now. Now again I will use a 400 grit sandpaper and sand the entire bumper, and this time I will be doing a water sanding. So here I have started water sanding my bumper with a 400 grit sandpaper. Now this is the last time where I am sanding, and this time you should be sanding the entire bumper with a 400 grit sandpaper. You will have to do the sanding this time to the entire bumper because you will be spraying the base coat on top of this, and the base coat should get a good hold with the surface. So to get that hold, you will have to sand the entire bumper properly. So here I'm done with the sanding. So I will rinse the entire bumper with water now, and will get rid of all the paste which has been created through sanding. So here I'm done washing my bumper, and as you all guys can see how the water stays on top of the bumper. So this type of finish you will get once you apply the base coat and clear coat. So here my bumper is dried completely. Now I will use a wax and grease remover or a degreaser and wipe the entire bumper. And with this my bumper is now ready to apply the base coat. So the next thing, I will wipe the entire bumper with a tech cloth, which will take out all the lint, dust, bugs on top of the surface. So now I am going to start applying my first coat of base coat. Now wherever I have applied the primer, I will cover those spots first by applying this coat of base coat. I will not paint the entire bumper when I am applying this coat. So when you are applying the base coat for the first time, apply only on those spots where you have applied the primer. So here I'm done applying my first coat. Now I will let it dry for around 10 minutes and apply the second coat. So here my 10 minutes are up. Now again I will wipe the entire surface with a tech cloth. What this will do is it will get rid of all the overspray, dust, bugs on the surface. And this time I will be applying the base coat on the entire bumper and not only on those spots where I have applied the primer. So while applying the second coat, I will be applying on the entire bumper and cover the entire bumper. So here I have started to apply the second coat of my base coat. You can even call it a first proper coat, because first time when I applied the base coat, I had applied only on the spots where there is primer, and now I am applying on the entire bumper. So here I am done applying my first or the second coat of base coat. I will let it dry for around 10 minutes and apply the third coat. So here my 10 minutes are up, and now I will apply the second proper coat on top of this bumper. But before that, again I will wipe the surface with a tech cloth so that it will get rid of all the overspray, lint, dust, bugs on the surface. So here I will start to spray my third and last coat of base coat. Again I will be covering the entire bumper while spraying this coat. One more important thing I want to tell you all guys here is, see that you don't miss the edges. So spray on the edges first. Otherwise, while fitting the bumper back on the car, you will be able to see that you have missed an edge. So to avoid that, see that you spray on the edges properly. So here I am done applying my third coat as well. Now I will let it dry for around 10 minutes and start to apply the clear coat. So here my 10 minutes are up, and again I will wipe the entire surface with a tech cloth, and this is the last time where I am using the tech cloth, that is before applying the clear coat. So here I have started applying my first coat of clear coat. I will be applying 2 coats of clear coat here. So the moment you spray the clear coat, you should get a good gloss. If you are not getting the gloss, then stop spraying, increase your fluid flow and start spraying again. So here I am done applying my first coat of clear coat. Now I will let it dry for around 15 minutes and apply the second coat. So here my 15 minutes are up, and here I have started to apply my second coat of clear coat. So let's see how my bumper will look like once I am done applying this coat. So here I am done applying my second and last coat of clear coat, and as you can see here how nice and glossy my bumper is looking now. This bumper is now looking exactly like a new bumper. Now you had seen how many scratches were there on this bumper, and as you all guys can see now how nice it is looking now. It is looking absolutely gorgeous. So I will let this bumper dry for around 1 day, and tomorrow I will fit this bumper on the car. So here I have already fitted the bumper on the car. Now as you all guys can see how nice the bumper is looking now. It is looking like a new bumper. All the scratches which were there on the bumper has now disappeared. I have acquired a very nice finish here, so I am very happy about the finish. Now this entire process I have done in my home garage. You have seen that. And if you want to learn auto body and painting like this, then I have put a link in the description. You can go there and enroll yourself in the course where I show you exactly step by step how to do the things. Even in this video I have skipped a lot of things like mixing the paint, setting up the spray guns and all that stuff that I teach inside of my course. So if you want to learn seriously, then I suggest you to get yourself enrolled. So that's all in this video guys, and I will see you guys in my next video. Till then, bye and take care.